भैया एक स्क्रैम्बल लैग देना। अरे भैया ये स्क्रैम्बल लैग तोड़ो ना, बट कोई इशू नहीं है। Even the bike manufacturers don't know how to make a good scrambler these days. But what is a scrambler? So if you trace the roots, a scrambler is basically built out of a road-going motorcycle. So the idea is to create a lighter machine for road racing, which wouldn't feel out of place doing some mild off-roading on some moderate trails. The world that we are living in right now, it is filled with pseudo-Scramblers with mere cosmetic jobs. So the task at hand today is to decipher whether the Triumph Scrambler 400X will join the list of imposters or whether it will justify the Scrambler genre of motorcycling. This is Anand Pandey from BBC Top Gear Mag India, and this is the first ride review of the Triumph Scrambler 400X. On paper at least, the Scrambler 400X, it does sound worthy enough of the Scrambler tag, because not just in terms of looks, which we are going to discuss later on, it has some mechanical upgrades over the Speed 400. So thankfully, the suspension travel at both the ends has gone up to 150mm. So up front, we get 10mm more travel, and at the back 20mm more travel as compared to the Speed 400. Helping the Scrambler 400X stray away from the imposters is that 19-inch front wheel and an imposing ground clearance of 195mm. And even the wheelbase has gone up as compared to the Speed 400. So a change in riding dynamics has also bumped up the seat height of the Scrambler 400X to a substantial 835mm, which is a lot more than the more accessible 790mm seat height of the Speed 400. Now for instance, I am 5 foot 9 inch and this is how I sit on the motorcycle. And this is how the rider's triangle looks like. Now all these changes combined have made the Scrambler 400X heavier than the Speed 400 by almost 9 kilograms. And to cater to the added weight and the changing riding dynamics, there's a bigger 320mm front disc up front. So when I first rode the Speed 400, I knew that this particular engine would fit the Scrambler 400X like a glove, because this motorcycle is powered by the same 398cc liquid cooled engine and it puts down the same performance figures. However, there are just a few changes made to the tuning which is a bit different, because the engine braking on this one, it is stronger than the Speed 400, and it also gets a new exhaust. So let's hear how this double barrel unit sounds like. Let's hit the road, shall we? So all the things that we liked about the Speed 400's engine, they can be experienced on the Scrambler as well. So the major highlight of this engine is accessible performance, because almost 80% of the torque can be accessed from as low as 3000 RPM. And that is saying something. So for a slightly off-road focused motorcycle like the Scrambler 400, low-end torque is what proves to be a boon for the rider, and that is the case here as well. That can be experienced here as well. Now the performance might be accessible, and that means that the motorcycle, the engine's character is quite friendly for the rider, so it doesn't take long for the rider to get accustomed to the power band. And that being said, the low end is nice. But another major highlight of this engine is the strong mid-range. So from 4000 to 7000 RPM, the power band is very meaty. But that doesn't mean that the top end is dead, because basically this motorcycle keeps on pulling hard till it reaches its red line, which is around 9500 RPM, and up till there it just keeps on pulling hard. Now the performance might not be as maniacal as the Duke 390, but still it is by no means a slow motorcycle, because I guess you can clock 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in around 7 seconds or so on the Scrambler as well. And that exhaust note that actually adds to the overall ride experience, because that dual barrel exhaust, it just adds to the feel of the ride. Now talking about the vibrations, there are some amount of vibrations to be felt as you near the red line and near the mid-range as well, but they aren't bothersome at all. So the motorcycle, it is pretty smooth, and that smoothness is also accompanied by the handlebar cross brace that we have on the Scrambler. So the main purpose of that is to reduce vibrations on the handlebar, and I can see that working fairly well. Now talking about the cruising speed, you can comfortably cruise at 110 kilometers per hour on the Scrambler as well, and 110 kilometers per hour of cruising speed isn't bad at all, if you ask me, according to the Indian road conditions. And even in city during urban runabouts, this motorcycle also feels lively in the lower end of the rev range as well. So it is one beautiful engine, a friendly engine that is, and fast as well. So if you want the performance to plaster a wide smile on your face, this engine can surely do that. One of the major changes made to the Scrambler 400X in terms of riding dynamics is the 19-inch front wheel. So its implications can be clearly felt out on the road and out on the trails as well, but more on that later. Out on the road, it is an agile motorcycle. Like, despite getting a larger wheel up front as compared to the Speed 400, it might not be as reactive as the Speed, let alone the Duke 390, but still, you won't call it as a sharp motorcycle, but it is one agile motorcycle. Like, you would be happy carving some corners on this motorcycle. Now that being said, I love the ride quality of the Scrambler 400X. I mean, I love the ride quality on the Speed 400 as well, and I knew that the Scrambler 400 is going to be even better in terms of absorbing quality, and it hasn't disappointed at all. So the longer suspension travel as compared to the Speed 400, the 19-inch front wheel, it all comes together to provide a very supple ride quality. So over speed bumps, you can just fly over them. Now riding hard on the road revealed the characteristic of the engine, but it also revealed that the braking could have been better, the front brake especially, because the Scrambler 400X, it misses out on the centered brake pads that the Speed 400 got, majorly because they didn't want the braking department to be as reactive as the Speed when you're hitting the trails, because it might upset the motorcycle. But out on the road, you do miss that bite of the front brake of the Speed 400.
Once you decide to take the route less traveled, the Scrambler still tries to be friendly. The 19-inch front wheel does make a difference during mild off-roading, as it helps the motorcycle to tackle the rough terrain. The plush suspension setup also aids trail bashing, and so does the switchable ABS and traction control. However, the Scrambler 400X cannot be termed as a hardcore off-roader, because once you start pushing it a little harder, the motorcycle tends to unsettle a little. Even the dual-purpose MRF tires could provide a little more grip once you're kicking up some dirt. Now that being said, the ground clearance felt adequate enough for some mild off-roading and tackling bad roads. The reason why we are talking about the looks of the Scrambler 400X so late in the video is because it is one of the major highlights of the Scrambler 400X. A Scrambler has to look like a Scrambler, and when a Scrambler veteran like Triumph does a Scrambler, they have to do it right. And I'm happy to report that the Scrambler 400X, in terms of looks, is a Scrambler done right. It is still a modern classic through and through, because just look at that gorgeous round headlamp with Triumph's logo embedded right in the middle of it. And then there's the shape of the fuel tank. And then there are rugged bits justifying the Scrambler look of the Scrambler 400X, like the knuckle guards for instance, the headlamp protector grille, the 19-inch front wheel shot with dual-purpose tires. As you move towards the back, the handlebar cross brace, the ribbed seat, the dual barrel exhaust, the split grab rail setup, it just all comes together to form a very, very beautiful looking motorcycle. And even when it comes to the overall fit and finish, the Triumph Scrambler 400X, just like the Speed 400, justifies the Triumph badging that is flaunting all across the bodywork. Now in terms of features, there's not much to talk about. You get LED headlamp up front, LED tail lamp at the back as well. The winkers are also LED unit. In terms of electronics, it gets switchable ABS as well as switchable traction control. There's a USB charging port right beneath the instrument cluster, but that's about it. There's no Bluetooth enabled instrument cluster or Bluetooth connected features that come along with it. But who the f cares when you can have so much fun on a motorcycle? It was a tiring day today, and despite sweating like a pig, it was a fun day riding the Scrambler. And that is what Scramblers are for, no? The fun. So is the Scrambler 400 any different than the Speed 400? In some ways, definitely is. And that is a major win for Triumph. For the extra 30,000 that you're shelling for the Scrambler 400X over the Speed 400, they are very well justified. Because with the Scrambler, you can do something which the Speed cannot, mild off-roading. There's no doubt that the Scrambler 400X is a capable Scrambler, but you should know the limits of this motorcycle, and once you do that, it is definitely going to reward you with its able performance and sorted riding dynamics. At 2.63 lakh, it is basically a steal with the level of fit and finish that it brings to the fold, the level of performance, the level of capabilities. And that puts me in a dilemma. Should I return the motorcycle back to Triumph or just run away with it? Now this British beauty is binding me to do the latter. Now this is all, folks. This is Anand Pandey from BBC Top Gear Mag India signing off. I'll see you around.